The Gunpowder Plot, an infamous episode in British history, was a conspiracy in 1605 that aimed to assassinate King James I and the members of Parliament by detonating barrels of gunpowder placed beneath the House of Lords. Led by Robert Catesby, and including the now iconic figure Guy Fawkes, the plot sought to disrupt the Protestant rule in England and restore Catholic influence. Let's examine the background and motivations of the conspirators, the details of the plot and its failure, and the legacy of Guy Fawkes and the Gunpowder Plot in British history. The historical context. To understand the motivations behind the Gunpowder Plot, one must first consider the religious and political climate of early 17th century England. The English Reformation, initiated by Henry VIII in the 1530s, had severed the English Church from the Roman Catholic Church and led to the establishment of the Church of England, with the monarch as its head. This break from Rome introduced decades of religious conflict between Protestants and Catholics, and during Elizabeth I's reign, Protestantism was enforced as the state religion. Catholics were viewed with suspicion, and their loyalty to the Pope and Rome was often equated with disloyalty to the English crown. Elizabeth's reign saw harsh measures imposed on Catholics, who were fined for failing to attend Protestant services, restricted in land ownership, and barred from holding public office. When James I ascended to the throne in 1603, Catholics held a faint hope that their situation might improve. James was seen as less radical than Elizabeth and was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, a Catholic who had been executed by Elizabeth. However, James soon proved unsympathetic to Catholic aspirations, continuing Elizabeth's policies of repression and even introducing a new oath of allegiance, which Catholics were required to swear, effectively denying the Pope's authority over the English Church. By 1605, tensions had reached a breaking point, with many Catholics feeling desperate for a change. The conspirators and their motivations. The Gunpowder Plot was orchestrated primarily by Robert Catesby, a charismatic and determined Catholic who had witnessed the suffering of his community firsthand. Catesby came from a well-known Catholic family, and he, like many others, had been deeply affected by the harsh treatment Catholics faced. He had previously been involved in other Catholic uprisings and had a reputation for bravery and steadfastness. Catesby saw the assassination of King James I and the destruction of Parliament as the only way to force England to reconsider its religious policies and bring Catholics into a position of power. Catesby's primary goal was not merely revenge, but a complete overhaul of the English monarchy, hoping to install a Catholic monarch or regent. Catesby was joined by a group of like-minded individuals, each with personal reasons for supporting the plot. Among the conspirators were Thomas Wintour, Catesby's cousin, who had studied law but turned to militancy in his frustration over Catholic repression, and Jack Wright, known for his courage and loyalty to Catesby. Thomas Percy, a member of the King's bodyguard, was another key figure, adding an insider's perspective to the group. Finally, there was Guy Fawkes, who would become the plot's most famous figure. Fawkes, a skilled soldier, had been fighting on behalf of Catholic forces in the Spanish Netherlands, gaining experience with explosives and military strategy. His deep-seated loyalty to Catholicism, coupled with his anger toward England's treatment of Catholics, made him an ideal candidate for the plot. Though he was not the leader, Fawkes played an essential role as the engineer of the operation, overseeing the gunpowder and managing logistics. Planning and executing the plot. The Gunpowder Plot was carefully crafted over several months, with each conspirator assigned specific responsibilities. The group decided to place gunpowder beneath the House of Lords, choosing November 5, 1605, the date of the state opening of Parliament, for the explosion. This timing would maximize the impact by ensuring that the king, his closest advisors, and many members of the Protestant ruling class would be present. To gain access to the cellars beneath Parliament, the conspirators rented a property that connected to the building and smuggled 36 barrels of gunpowder into the space, hiding them under piles of firewood and coal. The amount of gunpowder they stockpiled was extraordinary, enough to level the House of Lords and destroy much of the surrounding area, including nearby buildings and streets. At the heart of the plot was a desire for not just political assassination but a shockwave that would resonate throughout England, signaling that Catholics were prepared to fight for their faith. However, as the day of the planned attack approached, some conspirators grew uneasy. They were concerned that Catholic members of Parliament, as well as those sympathetic to their cause, might be among the casualties. Francis Tresham, one of the later additions to the group, secretly attempted to prevent the loss of innocent lives by warning his brother-in-law, Lord Morneagle, a Catholic, to stay away from Parliament on November 5. Morneagle, realizing the gravity of the letter, showed it to authorities, setting off a chain of events that would unravel the plot. The plot's failure and the fate of the conspirators. The discovery of the anonymous letter led to a search of the cellars beneath Parliament on the night of November 4, 1605. Authorities found Guy Fawkes guarding the barrels of gunpowder, dressed as a commoner and carrying matches and a watch to ignite the fuse. Fawkes was immediately arrested, and, under intense torture, he revealed the names of his co-conspirators and the full extent of the plot. Once the details were uncovered, Catesby and the others fled, attempting to evade capture. They were soon cornered and, after a brief fight, captured or killed. Fawkes and the surviving conspirators were put on trial and convicted of high treason. Their punishment, a gruesome execution by hanging, drawing, and quartering, served as a public warning against any future rebellion. The legacy of Guy Fawkes and the Gunpowder Plot. In the aftermath, England tightened restrictions on Catholics, imposing even harsher fines and penalties on those who refused to conform to the Church of England. For many years, Catholics were marginalized, viewed with suspicion and often barred from positions of power. The legacy of the plot as a catalyst for anti-Catholic sentiment is profound, as it ingrained in English society a deep-seated distrust of Catholicism. Although Robert Catesby was the driving force behind the plot, Guy Fawkes became the most memorable figure, thanks largely to his arrest and the dramatic nature of his role. Over time, Fawkes has come to symbolize defiance and resistance, inspiring not only annual bonfire night celebrations but also modern movements. On November 5 each year, effigies of Fawkes are burned on bonfires across Britain, accompanied by fireworks. The event celebrates the foiling of the plot but has evolved into a cultural tradition that fosters a sense of community. In the 20th century, the figure of Fawkes took on new meaning. His image, particularly through the iconic mask featured in the graphic novel and film V for Vendetta, has become a symbol of rebellion and protest worldwide. Used by groups like Anonymous and activists in global movements, the Guy Fawkes mask signifies a stand against oppression and a call for justice. This modern legacy contrasts with Fawkes' original intent, repurposing his image from a failed conspirator to an emblem of popular resistance. Conclusion. The Gunpowder Plot, though a failed attempt to change England's religious and political landscape, has had an enduring impact on British culture and history. It highlighted the desperation and determination of English Catholics under oppressive laws and illustrated the lengths to which individuals will go for religious freedom. While Catesby and the other conspirators saw themselves as defenders of their faith, the British public remembers them as radical threats to stability. Today, Guy Fawkes remains a symbol of both treason and defiance. The evolution of his image from villain to folk hero speaks to the complexity of history and the power of symbols to adapt to changing narratives. The Gunpowder Plot serves as a reminder of the dangers of religious extremism, the risks of persecution, and the resilience of societal values in the face of internal threats. It's a narrative of rebellion, survival, and the shifting meaning of loyalty, one that continues to resonate for centuries later. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066. See you next time, and stay curious.